The problem. Modern buildings are massively inefficient. From air conditioning to wastewater to contributing to the heat island effect in developed areas, buildings today contribute greatly to humanity's destructive practices. Commercial and residential buildings generated 10% more emissions than industrial processes, in fact. Unsustainable architecture is a serious problem when looking at our carbon footprint. After all, buildings are the second largest contributor to US CO2 pollution. Regulating building pollution can be tricky, however. What makes it such a headache to try to regulate is that everything has to do so much with the weather. What's worse, it is difficult to go about controlling pollution in the millions of existing homes, offices, and other buildings. Unlike simply having new construction codes and efficiency standards for buildings that are to be built, these older buildings will need to be individually renovated on a case-by-case basis. The global perspective. The anthropogenic environment, mainly buildings, contributes to approximately 40% of global carbon emissions. Buildings today consume a massive amount of fossil fuels in order to maintain air temperature inside, provide clean water, and sustain general infrastructure maintenance. The national perspective. There are some scary statistics to put into perspective the weight of the problem on a national scale. One example, the industrial and residential building sectors, the so-called forgotten sectors, put out a combined total of about 33% of US CO2 pollution. According to the EPA, industrial sources contributed 22%, and residential 11% in 2016. Potential solutions on the global scale. We can make a binding and well-enforced international agreement similar to the Montreal Protocol, but with the goal of decreasing energy consumption within our buildings, architecturally and usage-wise. This will also have the benefit of reducing the impact of buildings on climate change due to global warming caused by greenhouse gas emissions. Our goal should be that within a couple of decades, maybe 5 or 6, to reduce energy consumption by at least 50% for commercial/residential buildings and at least 60% for industrial buildings. Potential solutions on the national scale. A possible solution to the problem can be achieved through applying additional taxes on buildings that do not meet LEED standards or the standards of the Cap and Trade program to reduce emissions. This will serve to reduce the carbon emissions of buildings nationally and help combat global warming, as the United States is a major contributor. We propose an additional property tax increase of 5% for each year that building owners do not meet sustainability standards. These measures will incentivize the creation of a more sustainable built environment. Government subsidies to help homeowners and/or businesses renovate their buildings can grant additional benefits. Our goal is to make every building up to the new standards 3 decades from now. Potential solutions on the local scale. We can require all newly built commercial and residential buildings to have a complete gray water recycling system. Ideally, at least 40% of energy should be achieved through measures such as combination of active and passive solar energy, including overhangs that block summer sun but allow winter sun, deciduous and evergreen trees in landscaping, heat-absorbing walls, solar energy for generating hot water, and more. We can also make future plans to increase hydropower usage for electricity. This will, at the very least, reduce reliance on fossil fuels for energy production and help lower the national carbon footprint. The goal is to achieve this within the next 15 years. Potential solutions on the individual scale. Homeowners should install low-flow showers, aerated water faucets, and etc. to reduce water consumption. Most homeowners should replace their old light bulbs with LEDs. By using renewable energy as well, individual homeowners can contribute to a more sustainable future.